You know, if there's one thing about the 24-hour news cycle here in the United States, I mean, you have to hand it to them. Panic, panic, panic. And when everyone is home, or most people who are working over the weekend, let's just reset the whole thing and start a new panic. So the new panic came in two versions over the weekend. One of them is the hyped up story of the swine flu. And then this morning, to top it all off, the little military photo op exercise over Manhattan. You know, some of us have been talking about this endlessly, about, you know, reset the panic button. Please do it now. Everyone has to get into panic mode once again. For some background information, I'm going to be quoting some posts here from a website called Firedog Lake, and basically it goes like this. The new swine flu sounds scary, but what is the reality? A few dozen people have died in Mexico, and there are some other documented cases in other countries. What we're not seeing, rapid contagion, an exponential growing number of fatalities, contagion affecting medical care professionals. SARS was frightening in its lethal spread. So far, we're not seeing this with the new swine flu outbreak. We need to keep on top of this fear-mongering potential of this issue. There are real public health threats, which we can discuss as professionals and people interested in public policies. However, they overlap with those who would make a medium-sized threat and turn them into opportunities to make money and consolidate power. I'll post a link as well to the CDC site, the official Centers for Disease Control site, which is not calling it a public health emergency. What you're hearing about public health emergencies is coming from other quarters. Anyway, I followed the avian flu closely and was insight enough to see how that came to be a money-making opportunity. And the poster who is actually writing this on Firedog Lake is a scientist who works for Johns Hopkins in the School of Public Health. Something like 36,000 people in the US die from regular flu every year. And I don't hear a lot of screaming about that, except the one year that Rumsfeld's Tamiflu folks tied it to manufacture of a shortage of vaccine. And don't get me started about other preventable deaths here and abroad. So yeah, I'm afraid not of what you think. I'm afraid of people who cry wolf so often that a real threat in the future would be ignored. I'm afraid of demagogues who advance their own narrow causes by making the rest of us afraid, by magnifying a medium-sized problem into something terrifying. I'm afraid of resources at the CDC and state health boards, decimated during the Bush reign, now being forced into one issue at the expense of others that could have saved vastly more lives. And here's another poster from that same website. Just a reminder to everyone not to freak out over the mass media's propaganda on the swine flu story. Consider this. Last week and the week before, Clinton and Obama visited Mexico. Amid huge stories of shootings on the border, requests for U.S. troops by Perry on the border, and a huge economic crisis, and the story of the week. The possible prosecution, heaven forbid, of the Bush administration's for war crimes or violations of federal law regarding torture. Now this has all magically disappeared now from the 24-hour news cycle. The swine flu pandemic fear-mongering has taken torture off this news cycle. Heads up. Now, all we're hearing and gonna hear for the next few days is going to be how many people have become infected with swine flu, when it's not even sure. And you can go to the CDC's website as to how many cases have actually been laboratory confirmed here in the United States, which is less than 40 at this point. And none of them fatalities, by the way. Once again, we're back in the buy the duct tape era of fear with a lot of misinformation. Anyway, Google up Rumsfeld and Tamiflu and all of that. So then, of course, you can couple this with the military photo op or exercise, as they call it, over Manhattan earlier this morning. Just conveniently at the same time, while the New York Times finally published a story regarding Timothy Geithner on its front pages, regarding his involvement, deep involvement with all the Wall Street crooks, which we've all been screaming about. Now that story is also off the table now, thanks to some planes flying over the Manhattan financial district, which is evidently more important than our economic demise. Well, please read the sidebar that I posted as well, and follow those articles. It doesn't come as any surprise. I just wanted to get that out there. Reset the panic button.